Okay, are we live? Yes. All right. So thank you everyone for taking the time to join us this Monday late afternoon. And it's really a pleasure to be here. So welcome to the universe of opportunities. This webinar is offered to you by Payoneer. So as you know, Payoneer is the world's go-to partner for digital commerce everywhere, from borderless payments to boundless growth. Payoneer promises any business in any market, any individual, the technology, connections, and confidence to participate and flourish in the new global economy. So simply put, wherever you are, you can get paid, you can pay. It's a new global market, a new way of transacting things with Payoneer. So the topic of our webinar is actually very interesting because with the new norm, some of us freelancing or those with agencies have been forced to adapt to this new work setup. Well, some have been doing this remote work setup since the beginning. But for those agencies with their manpower crucial to onboarding and getting more clients, what steps do they take to make sure they find the cream of the crop? How should they handle possible issues with their employees? How do they retain top talent, thus retaining their clients in the long term? So simply put, how do they win more business? And for those who are looking to get hired more and find more jobs, what do they need to do to be the cream of the crop? What do recruiters look for? How can you land that sought after deal? My name is Patricia, the Customer Success Manager for Southeast Asia. And I'm here with two of our loyal Payoneer customers to help us break the code. So I'd like to introduce them one by one. So with us is the manager and co-founder of Linked VA Services, Junard Roa. Junard is helps clients scale up their businesses by managing their business portfolio and providing offshore staffing. Through his agency, he helps first-time freelancers and career shifters, mostly from BPO to freelancing, find long-term clients. His niche is business startup, business development, and project management in the clinical research industry. And also with us is Margot Bonilla, the Recruitment Leader of Athena. Margot is an experienced talent acquisition leader who specializes in creating high-impact career opportunities for Filipinos. Her most ambitious goal to date is to partner 10,000, so that's such a big number, 10,000 Athena EAs with their clients, all within the next 10 years. On Fridays, she is the host of Athena's homegrown podcast, all about Athena. So I'd like to introduce you to both of them. They're here with us. Hi, Morgan, Junard. Thank you for taking the time.
Hello.
Hey, Pat.
Hi.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, Pat. Hi, June. Hi,
Hello.
everyone.
Hi, Marga.
So yeah, it's really a joy to have you guys with us. Thank you for joining. I'm sure we'll learn a lot today from the two of you. Guys, these two really know what they're doing in their craft. They do this day in and day out. They look for talents, they look for clients day in, day out. So we want to know how they balance everything, the client and then the talent. But most importantly, this webinar is focused on the talent, which is crucial in running the business, right? So anyway, I did an introduction, but maybe you guys, Junard and Marga, just do like say something about yourself or introduce yourself, please.
Yeah, Marga, do you want to go first?
Sure. Thanks for letting me go first.
Sure.
Hi, everyone. My name is Marga. I am the recruitment lead of Athena. For those who for the first time is hearing Athena, I hope this isn't your last time hearing about Athena. So Athena is a 100% remote company, and what we do is we hire and we train executive assistants for our ambitious clients. So I know the number that Pat mentioned, 10,000 is big, but no ambition is real unless it's big, right? Go big or go home. So the goal really is to create high impact jobs for our fellow Filipinos. And that is our vision. At the same time, for our clients, we want to unlock their 10x, what we call 10x powers, basically just by partnering them up with our EAs and to give them essentially superpowers, right? That they wouldn't have otherwise without an Athena EA. So thank you very much for having me here. I won't take much um, screen time for my introductions to leave time for June as well.
Hi, June.
Right.
Okay.
Thanks, Marga. So yeah, I'm Junard Roa. I'm the founder and the managing director of Link. Maybe this is the first time that you heard about Link, but this is definitely the second time that I with Payoneer to talk to you guys. So Link is also a full remote staff team. We're currently supporting one of a clinical research client based in California. Right now, our core business operations is around clinical research. We recently expanded to bilingual call center, and we have our Latin American staff there. Just early this year, we've launched the architecture arm of the business. So we're also seeing new staff being added to the team. And yeah, just like Athena, we're also helping our Filipino freelancers find long-term clients. Mostly, my focus is really helping those career shifters from the BPO industry. As you know, there are a lot of people getting tired sitting in the office, taking calls, doing the cyclical things that they have to do. They've planned to join the freelance industry. That's when Link get into the picture. We're linking this first-time freelancers to their new long-term clients. And that's me and that's my team. And we're really interested to see you guys, knock on our doors. And we'd be very happy to connect you with our clients. Thank you so much for that.
That's great. I want to know. I'll go straight to the point. How do you guys find the right talent? It's a big question, but I want to know. Like, say, Marga, if I'm the client and I need like 5 of your best virtual assistants, where are you gonna find it? How are you gonna hunt for it?
Sure. So with Athena, we have different teams who take care of different things. So think of it as a well-oiled machine, right? And everyone is a cog in that machine that is dependent on each other, right? So we have the client experience team who handles the client side of things, right? They talk to clients, they do discovery calls to check, okay, what is it that you need from your EA? What do you need from Athena? What kind of support can we give you? And then on the recruitment side of things, we have my team and we do the sourcing. We have a lot of social media channels. We have one on YouTube, Facebook, where most of our podcasts are also hosted. And we have Instagram, we have LinkedIn. We recently launched our TikTok account. So if you're the type who likes to scroll through TikTok, we also have a lot of our EA sharing snippets of what a day in the life of an EA is like. And aside from those, we have job boards. So those are just the sourcing channels. And on top of that, we have a separate team that processes these candidates. But on top of those channels, I think one specific one that is probably like a special mention would be the EA referral, because our EAs, as we would like to believe, are already our top 1%, right? And if we could, we would clone them. If it was physically possible to clone our EAs, we would. But as the saying goes, tell me who your friends are, and I'll tell you who you are. So basically, we want to leverage the network of our EAs. One EA could refer potentially 5, and those 5 could potentially refer 5 each. So that already is a wider reach than we could achieve on our own. And that's already targeted because, again, like-minded individuals tend to stick together, and the profile that we want to, again, replicate and we want to clone essentially are already available in our company, in our sort of like database internally. So the special mention there would be our EA referrals.
You sound like you already have a blueprint of an Athena EA, right? And you're looking for specific characteristics. Could you describe a few of those? Like, what are you looking for, really?
That's right. So we have personas, we have profiles, because I can't really give you a specific mold, right? Because the EA role itself, it's not a cookie cutter role. So I can't tell you right away, okay, this is the type of profile that we're looking for. Because essentially, the EA itself is very general in a sense that each EA won't do the same task as the next EA, right? They could be 10 EAs in one cluster and they would be doing 10 different things. So it's really catered to what the client wants. Again, that's why we have the client experience team. We want it to be catered to our clients. We want the experience to be premium in a sense that we're not just giving you the run of the mill order taker. We're not just giving you someone who will do things for you just because it's their job, right? So essentially, if you have to twist my arm a bit and ask me what the profile of an EA is, we need someone who is proactive, who goes above and beyond, always asks why, always approaches directly, who, when we say we empower the fiercely ambitious, we're not just talking about our clients, we're also talking about our EAs. Because the partnership that we foster between our executive assistants and their clients are two-way. That's the only way that partnerships work. And the only way that would work is when their goals align, right? And so for us to empower someone who is ambitious, the EA must also be equally as ambitious. And that is what makes us always look at long term, right? We're not just looking at, oh, what can I do for you for, this year, or what can I do for you maybe next year? We're looking at decades. The proof of concept here really is, sorry if I'm taking too much time, but the proof of concept here really is when our founder, Jonathan Swanson, built a multi-billion-dollar company, not Athena, prior to Athena. Should I mention it? It's called Thumbtack, a decade ago. And he was only really able to build that company into what it is today with the help of his EA. And after a decade-long partnership, which is still ongoing, he thought this is something that he could leverage and he could offer to fellow CEOs, fellow startup founders, fellow movers and shakers of the world, right? Because he saw the value of having a Filipino EA who gave him so much through transformative delegation, right? It's like I wouldn't have to worry about so many things just because I know my EA has got it for me. So if you're a Marvel fan, I think this would be like the simplest example. If you're a Marvel fan and you know who Tony Stark is, that's Iron Man, you know who Pepper Potts is, right? So Pepper Potts is his EA who eventually became the CEO, right? But essentially, you are the second brain. You will be the second brain. You're not the right hand. You're not an extension. You are the second brain of your client. You're not waiting for them to tell you what to do. You call the shots, right? Because you already know what they want before they even think it. And that's the profile that we want for our EA. Now, that's hard to really hire at the get-go, and that's why we also invest in our people by training them and also coaching them.
That's awesome. Junard, I have a question for you. Sorry, Margaret, I have a question for you, but I'll have Junard tell us how he does it first. Maybe you two can answer. Junard, how do you look for your EAs or your contractors? How do you find that that character or those features that make it cream of the crop?
Yeah, as what Margaret said, I mean, we really do not have like a template for everyone, because the staff that we need is tailor fitted to the talent needs of our clients. At Linked VA, we have a lot of sources. Most of the time we look at Upwork, we look at we have Facebook campaigns, we have ads on LinkedIn. We've tried to recruit a lot of Filipino freelancers who are interested to join us, and we have certain levels of interviews to really identify these VAs if they're fit to our clients' needs. As what Marga mentioned, we also invest in our people once they join our team. We really coach them, we give them the training needed to set the stage to help us meet the goal. And as what Margaret said as well, Linked VA is started based on network. When we started Linked, I was the only one there, and I've brought in a few colleagues of mine, and we started this referral channel wherein the staff within Link refers their closest friends, and our instruction was really bring someone who's as good as you or maybe better than you are, but never really look for persons who are less skillful than you are. So we really banked on internal referrals, and that is really the reason why Link right now is just growing despite this changing landscape of the pandemic.
Okay, all right. Thanks, Junard. I have a question. Here in the Philippines, we value education much. I wanted to ask, like, from your viewpoint, how important are academic qualifications in you assessing a profile strength? Do you look at them if they graduated from a particular university, or if they took up a certain course matched on what the client needs? How can you say, just looking at an Upwork or a LinkedIn profile, if that VA is worth the job? Let's start with you, Margaret.
So we don't require any minimum educational background or even work experience in general. We believe that we should be screening based on skills and competencies. Also, one big thing here in Athena is culture fit. And one reason actually that our EA referrals is one of our highest hiring channel is because we consider all our EAs here in Athena as our Athena ambassadors. When it's a recruiter in front of you calling or even calling you on the phone telling you, hey Pat, I have a great opportunity for you with Athena, it's an EA role, it's a high impact role, yada yada. It's always going to be, oh, this is a recruiter. Of course, she's going to sell the job. That's her job, right? But when it's an EA, an actual EA telling you, hey, it's great here. This is what I do here. I can help you out. We have a great community. This is what you can expect. When you hear it firsthand from the person who is actually doing the job, that's when it hits, right? That maybe this is something that's great. And when we limit the network to qualifications such as education background or work experience, we're potentially missing out on great talents that could otherwise do the job well. And again, we go back to investing in people, right? And these people, when we over-filter, we miss out on talents that we could otherwise train and coach into the top 1% that we know that would make such a difference in our clients' lives. So too long didn't read answer. We don't have any requirements in place.
Okay, how about you, Junard? Do you look at academic qualifications or work qualifications experience as something really important in the profile?
Yeah, so Well, I'll look at that on different angles because at Link we have different arms of businesses. As what I've mentioned earlier, our core operation is really based on clinical operations, clinical research, and these are businesses that will require at least medical knowledge. So majority of our staff in that core operations are at least registered nurses here in the Philippines, or anyone who graduated in a medical course. So we bring them in to the core operations. But if we look at other businesses that we're currently managing, the architecture business, we have admin assistants for our executives. We don't really require any educational background as long as we know that they can be trained, they are willing to learn. I think those are the skill set that really varies the most. We put them to training, we tailor fit their skill set based on the needs of our executives. And specific to the architecture project we're in, it would be very difficult for us to find architects who can sit down and work with us remotely. So if you exhaust all your effort to find an architect, a freelance architect, I mean, it might be challenging. But if you're open to training someone whom at least knows the basic, then that will move your goals further. And that's how we really identify people at Link. We look at their interest, we look at how trainable they are, and we bank on training and profiling them to our clients' needs.
You mentioned something about something difficult. Speaking of difficult, I know can be a challenge for some recruiters, hiring managers. How do you negotiate compensation for a contractor or a VA? I know there's several styles to this, but for you, like based on your experience, how does it work?
Yeah, for us at Link, during the job offer, we're very transparent to our contractors. We are negotiating rates in US dollars, so they can manage how they plan to withdraw to save their USD accounts and maybe withdraw it later when the conversion is high. So because in the freelance world, majority of the freelancers are looking at the rates only. When they look at the high paying job, that's it for them. But there are jobs who may offer a bit lesser but gives you more hours to work, and the job requirement is a lot easier and that's more manageable. So during the job offer, we'll tell them the rates, how many hours we expect them to work on a weekly basis, what the job entails, so that it can help them decide whether to accept the offer. And I think we've been very successful in finding talents and bringing them to job offer, and we actually have a lot of acceptance rates for the job offer. I'm very confident to share that our staff at Link are well paid. I mean, maybe above average the average market right now, versus to the job that they're doing. It's really because we find them, we tailor fit them. The requirement for these staff are core to operation. They're in clinical research. It's a clinical research business, so we expect a lot from this VAs. That's why compensation wise, we're very transparent, and they've been paid well as well.
Okay, Margot, you want to answer that question also?
Sure. With the rates, because we do a lot of hiring. Most of the hiring is the volume, which I mentioned earlier, the executive assistant role. But we also hire non-EAs, and that's a variety of roles. I can't really list down everything. Again, like we have so many different departments in Athena and who do so many different things, right? Again, scaling up to 10,000, we need all the help that we can get. And with that comes a lot of market research, not just with what is being asked by the freelancers, but also what is the rate that the client is willing to pay for a premium experience, and what is sustainable for the company, because that's always, again, we're looking long term. We have to balance all three to make sure that we are still competitive, but again, still be able to run for the longest time that we can, right? And for the EA hiring, we're always very transparent with the rates. We start out with a flat rate, everyone gets it. And we add on to that by giving them benefits, pay increases, HMO, right? Making sure that their loved ones are also covered with the HMO, especially during this time. With the pandemic, one thing that Athena made sure of was that people are getting benefits. When people started getting sick, we looked at, well, even before people got sick, when, the COVID, first few COVID cases started popping up, Athena really did a temp check with the freelancers and, fast track conversations with HMO providers to make sure that we get a new package that would include that, right? The best one that we could offer our freelancers to make sure that, at the worst case scenario that they or, their family gets sick, they could still have something to cover them. I mean, the everyday rates that you're charged in the hospital just for getting sick, it's insane. So just that little help, that knowledge that you have an HMO and you have a community, that's already something that is premium for us. I know a lot of other companies offer the same, and we take a look at it holistically, right? We try to balance it with the rate, the benefits, not just the HMO and whatever that you can sort of convert numerically, but also the things that they can learn from us, constant learning, constant coaching, and also just being paired with a CEO who is, doing such great things. It's like a free MBA already. You get that chance to sort of pick their brains and just to learn how someone's brain, someone at that caliber, like someone's brain, how that works. That's already something that not a lot of people can say that they have privilege to. So, yeah.
Awesome. I do have a question. I think Margaret, this applies to you more. Like some people think of freelancing or this industry as being a price war. Like the clients want to may want to hire someone with lower rates. Of course, you mentioned something about the premium for talent. So what do you think of that? Is a price war? Does that apply to you? Or how do you feel about that existing in the industry?
I don't really think that it's a big issue with regards to Athena, mainly because again we have a great client experience team. They manage the client side well. They again do discovery calls and they make sure that the client knows that although this is the price, we are charging that because the service is premium, right? We invest in people and that investment will in turn, again, like the ROIs, right? We always think long term. When you think long term, you don't really focus much on, okay, what do we have to do now, right? Although technically you still have to be tactical while being strategic, right? But with the price wars, we're always very transparent when it comes to the client side and also with our hires or our prospective applicants so that we don't unnecessarily waste their time, right? We want to make sure that we do proper research, like market research on what is the rate for that in the market and what we can offer them is in line with that so that it's also a win-win. We're not taking advantage of them or anything. So it's always a balance, I think. You could always what I always say to the applicants or in the podcast episodes that the podcast I host is that you could always strike out on your own, and that's probably where the price war would be more relevant because you are bidding against people who might bid lower than you, who would probably get the job just because the client wants to pay you less. not necessarily for a better experience or a more qualified person, but we really can't say for sure. And Athena provides you with that security that this is what you're going to get. We're very transparent with that. And you won't have to worry about having to bid against, other EAs because we have a long list of clients waiting for you to be matched with.
Speaking of clients, Margot and June, June, you mentioned your clients are in medical, right? But Margot, could you describe a typical client profile? When they come to you, how many EAs do they need? Junard also, explain to me also, let me know how your typical client, how many assistants do they need? Margot first.
So I can't really say for certain what the profile is, mainly because we don't discriminate against industry, right? But if you say profile, what we could tell you is that most of our clients are fiercely ambitious, they're driven, and mostly they are the people who sit at the top of the corporate ladder. These are the C-level executives, the startup founders, or senior executives in big companies. You could Google companies. I can't really say, but any big companies, Silicon Valley folks, those are our typical clients. But again, our portfolio is quite diverse. We don't necessarily cater to just one sector or industry alone, mainly because again, our EAs have the support and have the training and coaching that we have. We have this what we call the experts, and we have EA coaches that help our EAs just in case that they're paired with a client who is asking for something new, or is because there are a lot of tasks, and most of our EAs, if you heard their tasks, they're amazing. You think to yourself, oh, that you wouldn't really think that would be possible. And it's amazing that it's in this digital age that it's being done virtually. And that kind of partnership is already inspiring.
Interesting. How about you, June? You mentioned your clients are in the medical industry.
Right. Yeah, so
How
it's a
many
bit.
power do they need initially? Are you looking like 2, 3, 10 right away?
Yeah. So it's a bit different setup on my end because Marga is focused on the recruitment side of Athena. On the other hand, I'm the one managing and helping the client scale up their business. So I know how many staff we need as we launch the project, as we start talking about venture capital. We have the business plan. I am involved as early as the creation of business plan, so I know how many staff we'll need in the future. So what's happening with Linked is, while we are planning to start up the business, I then immediately mobilize our HR team to really find these talents ahead of time. Usually when we launch a project with the client, when I launch a project with them, we start small. We find 2 to 5 staff to start working on the administrative things in launching the project. Once we've launched the project and we're really we're talking about goals on the revenue side, we then scale up, bringing more people to the team to support that project. And to answer your question, yes, we start small, 5 to 10, but just like the clinical research arm right now, we now have 20 staff supporting that. And Pat, you're very aware how much we grow our bilingual call center on. So from 2 staff in September 2020, we actually hired more than 20 bilingual in the Latin America to support that project. And we will need more. So Pat, you will see more requests for Payoneer accounts.
Actually, both of you. I also seen Athena's numbers, they grow exponentially. That's why I wanted to ask from business sense, you mentioned about skills development. At what point do you intend to develop the skills? What skills can you help develop, and what skills preferably the manpower already has once onboarded. So yeah, Marga, someone to answer that first.
Sure. So we have a dedicated training team who designs all our instructional materials, right? And they have to align with ops, who actually manages the EAs after training, and we have to align with training on what kind of profile that fits what they deem as trainable, right? We have to negotiate on what skills do we need them to be, what level of skills do we need them to be at for them to be able to be tagged as trainable. One big example would be comm skills, verbal comms. So we don't necessarily have language training here in Athena. So we do not offer language training. So we have to have the candidate or the hire to be at a certain level for them to qualify for the role, because after they qualify, they won't be trained on language anymore. They'll be just trained on the tone, on more on like Athena specific language, but not on the basic, like the foundational grammar, sentence construction, and all the like. So these things we can't I can't really say for certain for now, because these things change. I am going to be the first to tell you that these things change and we need to be aligned, and that's what's great about it, especially in startups. And I'm sure June, you'd agree with me. Nothing is set in stone. We want to be always we need to be constantly learning, because if we don't take note of the nuances of the learning points that we need to really note down, we're not gonna grow. And by that, we need to be always aligned. Again, recruitment needs to be aligned with training. What needs to be trainable, and training needs to be aligned with ops, with what is enough, right? Because what can be trained and what can be coached, what can be screened, what can be trained, and what can be coached are three different things. And we could list down 100 skills and 100 competencies, but the most important part of that is that everyone agrees that this is the list that we need to focus on, and then we test it, we see, and then whatever the results are, we pivot, we adapt.
Okay,
And that's the most important part.
cool. June, are you looking at do you have like a list that the candidates already has to have this, and then this is what we can develop?
Yeah, so as what I mentioned earlier, in our I want to talk about core operations because it's really where we have lots of staff. So in our core operations, we're focused on clinical research, and the very first requirement is at least you have the medical knowledge. Then you get into the training, using the tools that we use on a daily basis, and then you get endorsed to operations where the project specific is taught. So when it comes to training, we allot 2-3 weeks. I kind of agree with Marga that we don't really have the comms 101 at length as well, because we expect our hires to be good in communication. We taught them product specific training, and we provide them necessary reskilling if we notice some performance issue. We have performance evaluation done by the leads on a weekly basis. We have it on a 6 months when they join, and then we also do it on a yearly performance evaluation that is also connected to the merit increases that they get year on year. So when I listen to Marga, they have this very structured about training and recruitment. Kind of agree with that. We identify at least some staff having the basics. We train them and we move them to operations, making sure they can meet the skill set that's needed for the project.
Okay. Now, guys, let's go to our question and answer. We have several from Anna. Anna, thank you for these questions. So, June, help me answer this. How long on average do your contractors stay with you?
Yeah, that's a very good question from you, Anna. I'm actually looking at the linked reports and of our from our human resource. And our average tenure right now with Link is around 1 year and 2 months. 1 year and 2 months, that's the average tenure. And we have staff with us for almost more than 3 years now. Just we actually have someone who just turned 3 with us. So yeah, although we're seeing some up and downs in our attrition rate, but we've managed to really scale up and make sure that there's no operational impacts despite this uncontrollables.
Okay, then Margaret, let's answer this next question. Do you offer them any benefits, sick pay, medical cover, Christmas bonus, 13th salary, insurance? You mentioned it a while ago, right?
Yes, we do. So we have HMO. Our HMO covers the contractor after 6 months, and then after a year of service, their loved one or their dependent is also covered. They also have the option to enroll 2 additional dependents, but that would be a voluntary contribution. But it's we segment it into 3 months just so it's not a big burden for them to pay out. So yes, we do have benefits such as that. We have pay increases. Your pay increases by 50 cents per hour after 6 months, and then another one on your first anniversary, and then annually thereafter. For 13th month pay, we don't offer that, but we do have Christmas bonuses, and we have a lot more bonuses such as EA referral and also what we call client referral. So the biggest gauge of how happy your client is when they refer another client. And that's indicative of, how great of a job you're doing. And you'd be surprised at how many of our clients, a big percentage of them are coming in from client referrals. And that's a big bonus to the EA. So we do give a lot of bonuses, not as much of the 13th month pay, but we also, for Christmas, some just an anecdote maybe, it's not all, but we do, because it's such a personal connection, right? When you're working with that person day in and day out and you're managing their lives and having so much impact in what they do on the day-to-day basis, they care for you and you care for them. And Christmas usually also has bonuses from the client side, either monetary, or it could be gadgets like a MacBook or an iPhone or anything that the client wants to give the EA. We do not take any part of that. We give it 100% to the EA because they have earned it, because of how much the client has been satisfied with their work.
Okay. June, do you headhunt for clients, or do you use video screening for applicants? Is that something you do?
Yeah, we actually recently implemented that. I've asked the HR and the recruitment team to really find ways to validate identities of our applicants, because we got into a recent issue that we hired someone, but someone else is working for that person. That's a really absurd situation. We're kind of like confused. I mean, we trained someone else, and then in the next month we were talking to another person. So when we get into that, to really deliberate and identified ways to require people to really proof of identity. We ask for their IDs, and we cross-reference that to their profiles. And what we do is we actually ask permission to record every interviews, and then we cross-validate this later when they do the job, see if someone else is taking over, because it's a bit different when you are dealing with freelancers, random folks you found online. You have to be very specific in hiring, and you have to be very meticulous. You cannot bring someone to the team who's being replaced by someone without you knowing it. So we have that, recently implemented to HR and recruitment team.
Anna, sorry, Margot, we have a question from Anna. How about how do you headhunt, and do you do online screening or video screening?
Yes.
Sorry. Yeah.
Yes. So we have to maximize all the sourcing channels, and any recruiter worth their worth has done headhunting before, not just for the volume EA hiring, but mostly, again, we do have non-EA hiring. So yes, we are not ashamed to say that we have been headhunting, but only the best talents for our non-EA roles. And also, yes, because we are 100% remote company, we didn't really start being remote just because of the pandemic. It's business as usual. So yes, we do utilize technology to screen. So it's mostly Athena built. We're very technology forward with our ATS, with our CRMs. Even our assessments are Athena grown, mostly catered to the Athena way of doing things. And we like to automate these things to make it scalable. When I say 10,000 EAs, I'm not just pulling a number out of a hat and just saying it arbitrarily. That is really the goal. And the only way for us to hire 10,000 EAs is to make our process scalable. And we cannot make it scalable if everything is manual. So yes, we do utilize all the technology that is available. If there's no technology available, we build it.
Okay. Thanks, Marga, for that. June, since we have a question from the Lolita. Since you're hiring personnel for a particular client, what happens if the client backs out at the middle of the contract? How do you handle that? Have you experienced that?
Thank God, no. Well, yeah, I mean, I think that would be the worst experience for a startup founder. I mean, maybe to any agency or team. If you have a client backing out in the middle of the contract. No, fortunately, we haven't experienced that with Link, and I don't really look forward to that. But just to answer that question, maybe we can really look at how we identify the clients. We're at Link, we want to look at clients long term. We want to profile them who will stay with us, until project completion, not just slacking us for a few months. Our client profiles is a bit different. I'm working directly with the client, and I can really 100% certain that this client will not back out and will not cancel any projects, because they're not only this client is not only putting the staff relationship in limbo. It's they're also putting my relationship with them, my trust, the relationship that we've built, and as well as the whole team, which will negatively impact the business. So yeah, we don't have that experience.
Marga, have you handled something like a situation like that? We're in the freelancer, the EA wants to back out in the middle of a project.
Not just the EA, I think on both sides. I think that's a common nightmare story, like a common horror story in freelancing, right? Because it is freelancing, you always think, would I have a job tomorrow? Will my client, change his mind? So the real advantage of having Athena do the client management for you is that in the event that, let's say, a client decides to end the partnership, you won't be left hanging, right? You always have the option to still continue earning for your family, for yourself, and not being able to wonder, oh no, will I have a job tomorrow? Will I have a job next week? We really look at things long term, just like what June said earlier. And with that, I think we always with Athena, we have different departments because we want our hands in everything. We have recruitment, we have training, we have ops, handling the people like the EAs, the applicants, the trainees. But we also have the client experience team who handles the client side of things. And just like I think that's more in line with what June is doing, right? With being involved with the client directly and making sure that these clients are seeing things in a realistic manner, with regards to where they're going and where they want to be. And the thing is, it's a common question, and I think this is fair. It's a common question that we get from a lot of our applicants. What will happen if I lose my client? And one big example probably would be the pandemic. They could be happy with they could be happy with the service, but as you know, at the start of the pandemic, when the economy, the businesses started to temporarily close down and eventually down, there were a lot of business owners that were scared of, okay, what will happen to me in the future. We didn't really experience much of a client attrition, thankfully.
I think we lost Margot. Margot? Okay.
Yeah, let me just add something to that, Pat, while we're waiting for Marga. So yeah, I mean, Marga is right. It's very different if you're involved when launching the project with the client, because you build a trust with them, and at the same time, you're helping them find the best talent to meet their business needs. At the same also you have commitment with the client. This is not something that will end in the next weeks, in the next month. And I want to touch base what Marga mentioned earlier, that it's a fair question to ask from our freelancers. What is for me tomorrow? Will I still have a job, or will the client quit? It's a very different situation with the link, because client's core operation is supported with a network of freelancers. So we put people on this project because we know that there's a need for this project. And I know that that need will not end in the next months or so. Clients' businesses are scaling up, it's growing, and I'm very optimistic to bring talents to supplement the need for that project as well. And I think we have Marga back. Hi, Marga.
I'm back. I went out of outer space for a bit. Sorry about that. But yeah, that's in line with what I was saying. It really boils down to your relationship with the client and
Right.
setting the right
Correct.
expectations from the get-go, just to
Mhm.
balance what they need and also what your EA needs, right? Because you can't just be focused on what the business needs, because without your freelancers, it's not gonna run.
Cool. Morgan, we have a quick pop-up question here. Can the freelancer also have their family included in the health card, or in the uh, medical privileges that you offer? Do you include that?
Yes. So as I mentioned, after 6 months, it's only the contractor. But after a year, it's gonna be one free dependent. But at any given time, they can enroll two additional dependents, but that would be voluntarily. That would be paid voluntarily, but we segment it into three payments, 3 months, so that it's not so much of a burden for them to pay.
Okay. So we have 7 minutes left. I wanted to ask your tip for two things. Like, what do you think could help our agencies get more clients? Since you mentioned about having great client relationships, what are your tips in having great client relationships for the clients to keep coming in? And then another question would be, how from a freelancer's to-do list, what do they need to do to really scale up in the business? And June, I know you could answer this because you started from the ground up, right? So how could they do better? How can they scale up? Like, if they're new to this industry, how can they make it? Yeah, so let's start with June and then Marga.
Sure. Yeah. So as what Pat mentioned, I started Link ground up. I started being a VA, a first time freelancer, then work with the client along the way to scale up the business. Now Link started, and I'm bringing the staffing for that client. So if you're a freelancer planning to grow and create your own agency, first you need to identify a long-term client, a client that will work with you and has future plans. I mean, a client with probably many businesses. Maybe some of the clients are very difficult to find, but you have to look at profile your clients very carefully, understand what the business needs of this client, identify what the client's goal in the next 5 years, then 10 years. And by then you can forecast how long will the relationship stay, how many staff will be needed in the next 5, 10 years. So that's how I profiled Link. When it comes to finding the best talents, of course you need to bring your client to reality, because sometimes client tend to ask unrealistic expectations. Your job as the founder, maybe person starting an agency, you need to bring them back to the reality that these are the things that we can do, that we can't do, and these are the things that we need to do to achieve your business goals. Bringing the client to reality will help you establish trust, and later on the client will allow you to go ahead, run my business, bring people in, let's work together, and meet business goals. So that's my hint for everyone.
So it's really knowing what the client needs or what the client's
Yeah.
business is about and being good
Of
at
course,
it.
you have to work with the client very closely. You have to understand their business needs. At the same time, work with your network in addressing future staffing issues, because you cannot bring just random people. You need to have the ground basic understanding of what the client wants before you bring people in.
Okay. Marga, like for a new, I'm newly graduate. I really want to do freelancing. I really want to scale up. What should I do? What should I keep in mind? Marga?
Hello, can you still hear
Yeah.
me? For that, sorry, could I answer the previous question as well? I'd like to add my insights to that. For Athena, it's quite similar to what June is doing with Link. More on, because Athena's sort of concept is partnership throughout decades. We need to make sure that the coaching is actually two-way. With our EAs, we hire, train, and coach them, but it won't work if it's only one way, right? A partnership doesn't work that way. So what we do is we also coach our clients, and that's something that sets us apart from our competitors, mostly because not a lot of people do that. We make sure that we do regular temp checks. We make sure that our EAs, it's quite easy, right, to make sure, to just think about, okay, the client is happy, the EA is being paid, but what we make sure is that the EA is actually happy with the partnership, and that the client is actually treating the EA right, and the EA is treating the client right. Again, it's a partnership, it's really a two-way, and that's how I think most of companies, like startup companies, really flourish, when you make sure that it's not just about building connections, but actually maintaining them, thinking about it long term. You just don't think, okay, I'll just charm this person and get their confidence, just trust me with something, and then not follow through. I think it really has to be that follow through that will be the most difficult part, and that hammering, that always, okay, I'm here for you, and what else can I do for you?
Right.
Let's do this for the longest time.
Yeah, I agree with that, Marga.
Sorry, you were saying about the new grad. Can you repeat that question for me?
You for a new newbie in the freelancing industry, and they really have no clue like how to make it or how to scale up. What would you advise?
Sure. So, what would be the best advice that I could give is to do your own research, right? It's at the tip of your fingertips. There's Google University, there's YouTube University, there's there's a lot of avenues that you can research. There are Facebook groups that you can join, there are connections in your network that you can tap, you can ask about what kind of job do you even want. When you say freelancing, it's so general. There are so many jobs available online. June and I are both freelancers, but we don't do the same things. Our staff don't do the same things either. So it could always be one thing or the other. So you have to make sure that you're thinking long term, right? You do your own research, always decide for yourself after making that research that this is something that you want. This isn't something that will just tide you over just because it's pandemic and you need the money, but it's actually something that you're interested in, something that you want for yourself long term, because that's how you build careers, right? When you actually enjoy what you're doing, and it's not just, a 9 to 5 job or something that, when you wake up, you think to yourself, oh God, it's another work day, right? We don't want that. And so that's really, if you're a newbie, if you're new to freelancing, do your research, talk to as many people as you can to get really tips, and then decide for yourself what kind of niche, what kind of career you want for yourself, because then that would be, something that you should invest in. And then you do research on that. What kind of skills do you think you have? What kind of skills do you think you want to have? And there are a lot, Skillshare, there are a lot of, boot camps. And actually, Athena, just to also do a selfish, shameless self promotion. We are in the works. It's something in the works. We talked about it in the last episode that we had last Friday. We talked about the learning management system. We are now in the final stages of implementing the internal, but the future of it is that it's available to non-Athenians as well. So these are materials that prospective freelancers can use. So you don't have to be an applicant. You don't even need to be interested in Athena, but these are sort of basic skills that we can offer you to learn more on, to build on, so that, you as a freelancer can improve and also benefit from what we can offer.
Okay. All right. So we've come to the end of the webinar. We still have a few questions, and I'm sure a lot of our viewers still have more questions. So, Margaret, just a final word on how some of our viewers, or maybe they're curious about you, maybe they're curious about Athena, your hiring process, maybe they're a client. How can they reach you? Also for you, Junard, like, how can they reach you? You have a Facebook page, right, Marga? Then you have your website.
June, do you want to take it?
Oh, sure. Yeah. So, yeah, of course, if you have additional questions, you can actually reach us on our LinkedIn page. So that's where most of our staff are very active. It's linked VA services on LinkedIn. So we can respond to your questions there. If you want to reach out to us, partner with us, would be very great. We'll definitely answer your questions and more details, because as Link is a startup, we're still building up our portals and all those things. But definitely, I mean, we'll try to answer all your questions. Send us a message on LinkedIn, and we're there, happy to answer.
How about you, Marga? Just in case you're curious about Athena.
We have a lot of active channels. We are on Facebook, we are on Instagram, we are also on LinkedIn. What else am I missing? TikTok, we just recently launched that as well. But if you're interested in recruitment matters, you can reach us via recruitment@athenago.com.
All right. So with that, I'd like to close this. Yeah, Junard and Margot, will you type your link here in our chat?
Sure. Let me post our LinkedIn page.
For that questions. Yeah, so guys, thank you so much for taking the time to learn with us. Unfortunately, we've reached the end of the 1 hour, and we've even exceeded 4 minutes. So that's junard.roa@linkedvaservices.com. And then Marga, if you just share your email or any email. Yeah, recruitment@athenago.com. So guys, if you have questions also about Pioneer services, you can just message us in our customer care or just our website, pioneer.com. So thank you so much and have a good week ahead.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks
Bye,
for having us,
everyone.
Pat. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.